start off with this. I like this slide because I think it kind of shows the energy and ethos of Texas, and particularly Austin, where South by Southwest was born. I'll give you a little more context. This artwork was done by a gentleman named Hugh McLeod, no relation to Hugh Forrest. Hugh McLeod lived in Austin for many, many years. He's spoken at South by Southwest before. He is scheduled to speak this year. He wrote a book a few years ago, which I read and liked a lot. The book is titled Ignore Everybody and 39 Other Keys to Creativity. Good book, read it. Lots of good insights, and somewhat ironically, Hugh moved away from Texas a few years ago. Okay, so what is South by Southwest? I like to say that South by Southwest is sensory overload, and usually that is a good thing. South by Southwest is a living, breathing manifestation of the internet. What does that mean? It means we've got 40, 50 different panels and presentations going on at any given one time. During the day, we host again panels, we have presentations, we have numerous exhibitions. In the evening, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of networking events. The South by Southwest Film Festival features hundreds of screenings. The South by Southwest Music Festival features 2,000 bands over the space of 5 nights. The South by Southwest Interactive Festival, which I work on, has somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 total panels over the space of 5 days. So again, lots and lots of different things to do. South by Southwest is a great place to understand or to learn what's going to be hot in the future. It's also a great place to make one-on-one career-enhancing connections. I can talk for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes about what South by Southwest is, what it isn't. Again, it is much easier to watch the video to get a much better sense of what it is.
We really wanted to do something that was in the spirit of what South by Southwest has always been about, creating a real connection between the fans and the artists and the musical experience.
The solution is to change the system, and changing the system is so much what South by is about, bringing people together, smart people, thoughtful people, people who want to instigate change, people who stand for change.
I mean, this is one of the best festivals in the States.
When I tell people that we're going to South by Southwest to see it, they say, perfect. That's the perfect place to bring it.
It's much easier to watch that than to get to Austin in March. I love the video again because it creates a sense of energy. Some of the things that the video doesn't do so well is give a little bit of a history of the event, and let's talk about that now. This picture is actually from South by Southwest 1994. That is a very old Johnny Cash and a very young Beck, who actually played on the same showcase at a small punk club called Emos. So again, blast from the past there. South by Southwest started in 1987 as a music-only event. It was loosely patterned after an event that started in New York called the New Music Seminar. At one point, the organizers of the New Music Seminar were going to move to Austin or start another event in Austin. That didn't happen, so it was organized locally. The reason why it always happens in March is as follows. When the original organizers went around to clubs to talk to them about doing this new music event, the club's owners turned out to be a fairly conservative lot. They said, sounds like a great idea. Come back in a couple years when you have something more established and you can use my club. They kept knocking on doors, they kept knocking on doors, they kept knocking on doors. Finally, the club owners said, we've got 1 week of the year. It's our worst week of the year. It's when 50,000 University of Texas students leave town. We can't do any worse that week than what you have, what your idea here is. So that week is yours. Now flip forward 5 years, 10 years, that week has become the most profitable week for most of these clubs. Some of them do 10, 20, 30, 40% of their entire revenue for the year in that 1 week. So I always say that story because I think it's a great lesson in turning a strength into a weakness. Turn a weakness into a strength. There you go. Take something that everyone thinks is a weakness, turn it into a strength. Keynotes from music over the last few years have ranged from Bob Geldorf to Bruce Springsteen to Robert Plant. South by Southwest Week has grown to be a major driver of the Austin economy. According to our in-house figures in 2014, the economic impact of the city of Austin for South by Southwest Week was $315 million. To put that in context, that's about 2/3 of a Super Bowl. All right, how did I get involved with this crazy event? I graduated from college, 1984, came back to Austin, wanted to be a writer, started an alternative publication called the Austin Challenger. Alternative not because of its politics, but because of its publication schedule. The good thing about the Austin Challenger is we had a computer, which was a Mac Plus, and I got called up by the team that was putting on South by Southwest a week before the second South by Southwest ever. The conversation went, we'd like to put our database on a computer. Is that possible? I said, that's what computers are for. There was a pause, and they said, how about your computer? So I got hired because I had a computer, and that's, that's also how I became the tech guy. So early lesson in having the right hardware at the right time. That's how I became the tech person. Brief history of South by Southwest Interactive. This is the artwork from year 2. We started as a combined film and multimedia event in 1994. We split into 2 different groups, 2 different events in 1995. We struggled and struggled and struggled to find our voice for the first 10 years. But in about 1994, we began a cycle of growth. One of the catalysts of this growth was a person whose last name was Abrams. He was a keynote speaker at the 2004 South by Southwest Interactive Festival. If anyone can tell me who this person is, I will give you a free badge to South by Southwest Interactive. Close. No. Come on, I want to give a badge away. All right. This person was named Jonathan Abrams. He was the founder and CEO of Friendster. Friendster was the precursor of MySpace, Facebook, Facebook, Twitter, go on down the line. I had seen him on a TV program. We got him to South by Southwest as a keynote. He turned out to be kind of offensive. Shortly after South by Southwest, Friendster began to level off. I don't know if we had anything to do with that. But anyway, footnote in our history, and that was really our first foray into social media, and social media is one of the reasons we've grown so much. Other things that have pushed the growth of South by Southwest Interactive. In 2007, Twitter essentially launched at South by Southwest. I say essentially because they were already out, but they are nice enough to credit South by Southwest as the place where they launched, and that has helped us a lot. 2007, Uber also launched at South by Southwest. We had a Mark Zuckerberg keynote in 2008, which was disastrous. Jeff Bezos was a paid registrant and walked the hallways in 2008, so that was kind of cool. It'd be like seeing Jeff Bezos walk around here. iPad 2 launched at South by Southwest 2011. Recent keynotes have ranged from Ray Kurzweil to Anne Wojcicki to Elon Musk. Last year, we were fortunate enough to have Edward Snowden do a live broadcast or live interview from Russia. That was probably our biggest thing ever. Speakers for 2015 include Eric Schmidt of Google, the actress Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Jack Welch from GE. So, because we're in hockey country, this is the hockey stick almost of our growth for the last 10 years. There you go. Why did we grow so much in the last 10 years? Lots of reasons. I think there's lots of reasons for growth or failure in any organization. One, patience and persistence, and even more patience is, with a S on the end. Lots of hard work from all the parties involved. We got very lucky on a lot of different things, not the least of which is Twitter being here in 2007. We were at the right place at the right time on a lot of things, particularly in the social media world and the startup world. We were benefactors. We were the beneficiaries also of a big shift in the culture where geeks became cool. Austin is also a really neat place to be in the spring. It's still cold here. It's warm in Austin. We have a very committed staff. We also have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hardworking volunteers. For this particular talk, I'm going to focus again on three things: community, engagement, and scarcity, which I think are very, very important to our growth. The slide is the show community. It's an easy way to remember. Community is one of the most important things to me. I'll also mention that we have a community panel at this year's event, meaning that most of the cast of the event will be at South by Southwest 2015. So again, we believe in community. First point in community, we have a very strong advisory board. How did this start? We had people who were very, very invested in the event, who loved the event. And I thought, is there a way that we can just get those people more involved? So we created this advisory board. They give us a lot of good advice, sometimes not good advice, on things we should be doing. About 10 years ago, embraced a very, very aggressive schedule of meetups. The general idea was that if people weren't going to come to us, we were going to go to them. So we did meetups in San Francisco, in New York, in Chicago, in Seattle, all around the US, in fact, all around the world. More recently, we've started doing diversity meetups. This meetup happened in early February in Austin. This was our Black Tech Community Diversity Meetup, which is very good. But probably the most important thing in terms of community is this interface that we have called the South by Southwest Panel Picker. We started this in 2007. The Panel Picker is an interface which encourages anyone in the community to enter a speaking idea. These speaking ideas are then posted online, and then anyone in the community can vote on them. So it was a great way to get more relevant content to the event. Even more important, is a great way to create more of a community and create engagement with our community. Which leads me to our next point. Engagement is everything. This slide, kind of a different kind of engagement, but one of my favorite moments from South by Southwest, it was at the 2008 event. We had a gentleman named Frank Warren as a keynote. Frank Warren, if you're familiar with him, he is the man behind Post Secret. And he gives a great talk, gives the same talk over and over, but it is a great talk. Halfway through the talk, the whole audience is in tears. It's about the power of confession, that when we hold secrets, it holds us back. First question in the Q&A, guy gets up, asks his girlfriend to marry him. Pretty cool to be involved with an event that people think that much about, that they're going to plan their marriage proposal around it. But again, we're talking about a different kind of engagement here. So things that we do for engagement. Like a lot of you guys, we do a post-event survey. Get lots and lots of feedback from our registrants. We pour through that feedback religiously, get lots of great ideas from that feedback. That's a good thing. What we do that's a little bit different than probably a lot of people is we have a thing called the Feedback Project we do every year in April and May. My staff hates this, I hate this, but what it is we take the people who absolutely hated the event. People who said, I'm never coming back, it's the worst thing I ever went to, it sucked, you sucked, everything sucked, suck, 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 suck. And how this works is each person on my staff has to write emails to 30 of the people, 30 different people who said, you suck, 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 suck. And what we've found in some cases is that when these people who said we suck got an email, they're incredibly impressed that someone actually read what they were saying and took the time to email back. Does this change all the haters? No, but sometimes you can turn naysayers into champions that way. It's a very important part of what we do. And again, this feedback project has been very, very helpful in terms of pushing us forward. I think the feedback project also reflects another belief of mine, which is this, that you just try to answer emails as quickly as possible, communicate as quickly as possible. People expect that. Even if you don't have any kind of answer, email back. I'm working on an answer. I'll get something to you soon. If I bring any talent to this world, it is my ability to answer emails fairly quickly. Okay, last point here. Scarcity is sometimes a good thing. For the slide here, I chose our friend Neil Strauss, who wrote this book, The Game. Has anyone read The Game before? No. Put your hands down now and we won't embarrass you. The Game is about PUAs, pickup artists. It's a book I read 7 or 8 years ago. I disagree with a lot of the stuff in there, but also a lot of it's pretty fascinating. And I think some of it kind of translates to South by Southwest. Scarcity means that the panel picker is very, very competitive. We get 3,500 panel entries, speaker ideas. We only accept about 500 of those. So it's about 1 in 7 gets into the event. I hate emailing people that are friends of mine that your idea didn't make it into the event. I hate that. It's not fun. But at the same time, I know that telling those people that they're not part of the event somehow makes them want to be even more a part of the event. It is this weird thing that I've never been able to do in my personal life, but professionally, I've understand that works. So again, the panel picker has created this sense of scarcity, which is important to the growth of the event. Scarcity also means that it is challenging to get to Austin in March. This slide shows our hotel availability page. Most of the hotels are sold out, particularly in the downtown area. They've been sold out since December. Strangely, we're still having 200 people a day register. How does that work? I don't know. I have no idea where they're staying, or they're staying in Airbnb places. But again, somehow that scarcity makes it all the more interesting. And I think in some ways that's analogous to what we're doing here, where we are now, that, you know, it took a little bit of effort to get here, right? But getting here, doing that effort makes it all the more neat. Third point of scarcity, getting into a lot of sessions at South by Southwest can be very, very difficult. This is a photo of a panel line. People probably fairly angry that they're not into the panel. I hate it. This pisses me off when we have sessions where people can't get in. But again, I also have come to realize that when people can't get into a session, that somehow adds something to the event. So again, scarcity is probably the least important of this community/engagement idea, but also part of what our growth is. So 5 quick conclusions that may or may not help you in your particular business. 1, all businesses are customer service businesses. South by Southwest, the interactive portion of the event, it's a tech event, right? We talk about new technology, talk about what's going to be hot in a few years. Yeah, that's kind of what we are, but ultimately we're a customer service business. And in this world where everyone's on social media, the more customer service you can give, the better you are, the stronger you are. Point number 2, markets are conversations. Something I always talk about when I talk. It's a quote from a book called The Clue Train Manifesto, which came out about 15 years ago. It's still one of the most relevant books for the new media revolution. Markets are conversations. Easy to remember, 3 words, markets are conversations. One of our speakers for 2015 is a gentleman named David Weinberger, who was one of the co-authors of this book, so I'm really happy to have him back. Again, markets are conversations. Point number 3, strong communities are forgiving communities. Believe me, we have done everything wrong at South by Southwest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We screw up all the time. But the strength of the event, the strength of the community is that we've been able to rebound from each of those screw-ups. So I would love it to say that we don't screw up at all. I hope we don't screw up at all in 2015. But again, strong communities that are invested in your event or your product or your service are forgiving communities. Point number 4, engagement is great, but the haters are always going to hate. You've got to remember that at some point, no matter how many emails you write to the people who say suck, 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 some of them are never going to be convinced, and you're going to lose your sanity trying to convince them that you are nice people and all that. So again, haters are going to hate. Let go of some of that. Last point, again, forget technology. Face-to-face interaction is everything. One of the ironies of South by Southwest is that, again, we're a tech event. We talk about the newest tech innovations, the new social media, the new messaging platforms. But at the end of the day, what people want at an event like we're at now, is face-to-face communication. You want to be able to sit down next to someone, have coffee with them, have dinner with them, have a drink with them. Face-to-face interaction is everything, and that's what happens in an event like South by Southwest. That's what happens in an event like this one. A little bit of information about our dates. This year, March 13th through 21st. Dates for Interactive, March 13th through 17th. Again, you can always email me at hugh@sxsw.com. Follow me on Twitter at hugh_w_forrest. Thanks again for coming out. It's a great honor to be here. It's a great event. I'm really proud that I could tell the South by Southwest story here.